Jamo's got the clap. So this is Andrew again with SpackleBucket Moto. We're here in the garage right now with Caleb and Jameson, and just reviewing a bit of what got us into riding and what led us to each of the bikes we chose here. So basically I'll start here with myself. I started riding back in, the early 90s or something like that, with a four-wheeler little race quad my grandpa got my brother and I, and then that transformed into riding a friend's KX65. And I just remember literally ripping a wheelie across the lot where my parents were about to build their house and just being hooked on that. And so that transformed into an XR200 and then a very, very spackly YZ125. It was a 1986 YZ125. So if any old people are familiar with that one, their understanding of what I dealt with, and keeping in mind this was like 97, 98 when I had that. So it was a bit trashy then. New, it was trashy when I was riding it. So that went on for a whole bunch of years, and then kind of ducked out for a bit, got into skating stuff, and then got back in with road racing, and then had some pretty gnarly crashes with that. And so someone said, hey, why don't you try trial stuff? So got hooked up with the local nitro trials here out in the Illinois area, and did that, and then met up with Jameson here. Didn't meet Caleb yet, but a bunch of others that were racing hare scrambles, doing off-road stuff, and got really heavy back into dirt biking after that. So it's, kind of around that time when got met up with you and all that stuff. So
that was crazy.
Meeting on the internet too.
I guess that'll go to me. My name's Jameson. I haven't been riding quite that long. I guess I started riding just before I met Andrew. So I don't know what year that was.
So it was 2008.
Okay, so I'd been
2008,
riding
2009.
Probably 2006, 2007, something like that. My first bike was a DR650, and just a hog for the kind of riding we wanted to do. But did my first hare scramble kind of ride, dual sport ride on that.
Leaf River? Yeah, okay.
On that.
But you rode to it, didn't you?
Yeah, rode
to
to it, and it was a nightmare.
And so for those, and for those that aren't familiar, Leaf River here, they traditionally put on a enduro and a dual sport at the end of the year, and so it's the dual sport course is basically the enduro course.
Same
so
thing.
It's a pretty good event. So it's,
it was great fun. Kind of really took off my up and off-road riding and that kind of thing, and kind of hare scrambles, woods riding. So I haven't been riding that long up until that point, and then I kind of just progressed through the bikes. I immediately after the DR650, I bought a KTM 540 as a 520 that had a big bore on it, and that thing was just awesome. And then riding that, it was like, oh shoot, this is too heavy. And then got into a 250 SX, and then I was like, I bought a motocross bike for woods riding, and that was a nightmare.
Then you were a few cartwheels at Kai tracks.
Yep. And then got out of that, got into a 950 adventure bike. We did some adventure rides. It was amazing. Love that bike. Ended up selling that so I could get back into woods riding again, and got this thing. It's a 2014 TE 250, and that's where we're at now. But I rode mini bikes a little bit as a kid, but other than that, it's been since we met, and it's been my riding since then. So.
What a pass there.
I know. Well, and you kind of inadvertently got Caleb hooked into riding with the guy who crammed into the back of my Ranger on a UP truck. So how did that all transpire?
Well, let's see. So it all kind of started when I have a laundry list of bikes. Where do we start? Well, the first dirt bike we had was a 1973 Honda XR75. We picked that up from a neighbor. It was not running. We traded it for a pen. So we're like, hey, well, can't beat it. We ended up having to borrow out the spark plug because it was all mangled and nasty. Did some carb work on it. She was running. It was a blast, and my mom hated it. So that was the first bike. And then we actually had another buddy, one of my dad's coworkers, who he had a bike in his garage, conveniently in buckets because it was in parts.
As it should be.
As it should be. The whole thing was in parts. The only thing that was whole was the engine. That was it. He claimed it just had a new rebuild. Claimed.
Yeah.
Well, we put it all together, my brother and I. Well, long story short, get it all together. We're out in the fields ripping. Within about 10 minutes, we blow the bottom end.
Oh, jeez.
So basically after that, we get in. We were just kind of monkeying around with a lot of bikes. And at that point, I was tired of dealing with very spackly bikes. So I was like, nah, I'm done with this. I want to get into ATVs. They just seem so much more fun, right? That's where our buddy Nate comes into the mix. I'd known him since we were really little. He just got into bikes from JMO. And he was like, nah, no, you don't need none of them ATVs. Go two wheels all day. He had just picked up a 2001, I think it was.
Yeah, something like
2001 YZ250F.
Oh, yeah.
And he loved that thing. Well,
Until he rode one of these, but yeah.
well, that's true. That's true. That's kind of the same situation with me. But he let me ride his bike. I was like, all right, I'm sold. I picked one up. I think it was like that following weekend. We went up and picked mine up. Mine was a 2006. After that, kind of the rest is history. I had that for 3 years, 2-3 years, something like that. And then after that, then I picked up a 2011 450 EXC. And then, well, that wasn't enough power. I wanted more dual sport adventure riding. Went to a 690. And then 950, and now I'm back to the 450. So it's a little bit of a... Yes, there's a few bikes in there, but...
So obviously one of the common themes here is we've all gone through way too many bikes in way too short of a time. And there always seems to be that the common theme of... Or well, most people seem to go with the correct number of bikes as N+1. But I, for some reason, like always went like... Oh, I'm going to sell this one to get this one, sell this one to get this one. And then you go like, well, crap, I want that one back because it did this, and this one didn't do this, and this, and this. And that's what actually led me to my original 350, which was a 2013 350, which after going through WR450Fs, YZ250Fs, anything and everything in between, the BMW G450X, what else? There was a whole lot of bikes.
You went through a bunch, dude.
Yeah,
And was finally convinced to go with the 2013 350. And what's funny is the first one that I rode, I didn't even actually like. It was a buddy of mine. He had a 350 XCFW, and I rode it at like a little track that we would practice at. And I was just like, it's just kind of, it's okay.
What were you on at that point?
So at that point, I had my WR450F, or I was like looking to sell it to get something because we were getting into winter, and since it's the Midwest, as it starts to get towards October, November, you're kind of going like, well, do I want to sit on the bike all winter, or what do I want to do? So he had me ride it, and then after I rode it, I was like, well, I want to go with a 450, and I went to actually go buy one. And what happened was, the one I went to go buy, it was an XCFW, and so it wasn't 50 state, street legal, whatever. And so went to go buy it, look at his title, and it says ATV only, or whatever. It was like plated wrong or titled wrong, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm out of here. So came back home and ended up finding the leftover 13 and bought that in January of 2014. Spent the next 3 years on that and fell in love with it, and then I got convinced that I would go with a two-stroke.
Because they're awesome.
All right,
Come on.
So I do agree that two-strokes are awesome. They've got their place, and the folks who have the gnarliest hills that are like inverted and backwards and uphill, snow, every way. will claim that they're the only thing you can use. I disagree, but that's me and what I've ridden, obviously. You know, we all have our take on that. But yeah, I sold it, and I was initially looking to get basically what you have, the TE 250 or like the KTM 300, something like that. But then I bought I bought a GPX, the 250. I took a gamble because that's the Chinese knockoff of the Husky
lost.
17. I lost. I lost. Yeah, I lost on that one, and basically went back to going, hey, I know that these things are great. It's just a matter of me going, do I want to shell out the money? Because it's, you know, the TSEs, they joked about there being a major frame gap between the engine and the frame itself. Well, these have a little price gap between the three of them. You know, it's
Just a little.
just a little, and you know, so that's kind of what led me back to this, was just knowing that consistency and knowing that they updated a bunch of stuff with this. You know, and that's, you know, one of the other videos I talk about that, of how, you know, the different little things I saw that they updated and all the little trinkets that are improved and all that. But I mean, what led you? Because this is the 2011 450,
That it is.
which we'll put up some video of this. But we spent some time doing some laps at a little oval track last weekend, and it's impressive, like how that engine is. Because I hate carburetors. I hate dealing with jets. I hate dealing with all that nonsense, which is why I like this with being fuel injected. But this, with the JD jet kit on there and all that,
That's it.
it works great. I mean, what else about it for you was kind of...
I mean, the
Sealed
biggest
the deal
selling
for
point
you.
for me was the budget and 50 state street legal. And I had owned one before, and that's what just sold me on it. I had that one for a year and a half or 2 years.
Okay.
We did the twat on it with my buddy Nate and Ty, and then that just sold me on it. I wish I never would have sold it.
But you got this one...
Oh, I got this one at a much better
Yeah,
price.
right. So it wasn't like a negative situation.
No, it wasn't.
And
It's just-
now this one's a little better condition than that one, too,
No,
right?
that
No?
one was actually fairly similar. It had about 1,100 miles on it,
Okay.
and it had more upgrades on it, though.
Oh, okay.
Like, he had just
all
everything
the-
done. Yeah.
Which that is one of the things that it's like, it's tough when you look at these. I mean, I just saw someone today posting that they, you know, so this was $9,500 before taxes and all that stuff for a leftover 2019, and someone bought a similar one, and they're talking how they already have $5,000 in mods on it, and it's like, wait, how does this happen?
Yeah.
I'm like, $5,000 in tires would be like, you know, a dream come true. That going like, hey, I'm riding the snot out of this thing, you know. Whereas
Oh, yeah.
$5,000 gets you another one of these, and then money for gas and tires
And
and
new
riding.
gear, you know.
Yeah. But then what? So, and you sold the 950, which we rode the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail together on a whim back in 2015. Yeah. Caleb on a 690. He's cringing about this. Meanwhile, I was on a 350.
350.
I was on a 350.
I'm on the 950.
And he's on a 950.
V-twin.
Right.
Just
So, but you sold that and got this. I mean,
Yeah.
what had you going with this Husky over, I don't know. Well, I mean, so
I
your
was-
options
I
were
was-
the KTM 300.
honestly,
250.
I was looking at like
You were looking
I
at
was looking at something similar
God's
to that.
chariot.
It was I was more in the ballpark of like the XCFW or something like that. Something that's not street legal just because it was cheaper and I was on a budget and that whole kind of deal. And I just kept coming back to two-stroke. Like I really like them. I like the power delivery. It's just really fun for me. And so I just wanted something. I had the 250 SX, and I think that was a 2005 or a 2006,
somewhere
maybe.
around
Yeah,
there,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I don't even remember. But I like
Good
that bike a
bikes.
lot. But very stiff suspension and just a little bit, not right.
You rode the Byron
So-
hair scramble on that.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it was a great bike, great fun, really light, loved it. But I just want to get something a little more modern. So found it at a good deal, and just couldn't say no to it. And this bike has not disappointed. I haven't put a ton of time on it in the 3 some years I've owned it. I've got 27 hours on it, and that's basically like a few trips to the UP and a little times riding around
and we
here.
did I think we did a few years ago Leaf River.
And I have this.
Yeah, you had this.
We rode down. I had my 690 with you.
Okay.
We rode the truck down, and then I split back by myself.
And that was, I remember.
Yeah, because I've got a 4-city rider.
Yeah. So, and I had my old 350 then. And I remember we switched bikes at some point, and you said, your 350 just wheelies like crazy.
Man, it's crazy. Like that bike is so easy to wheelie. Like, and this really should be. It's just a different.
It's different.
It's a different delivery.
It's good at wheelies.
Like it just.
But no, I remember being on this and going like, you could kind of just like rip the trails in a totally different way.
Yeah.
You know,
so
whereas,
I've been super happy with it. Haven't done hardly anything to it. I mean, I haven't cleaned it since we got back from the UP. So like maintenance and me, I just haven't been into it lately.
So this is the beginning stages of a SpackleBucket bike.
Exactly.
So if you're looking for a, was this 2016?
Yeah.
No, wait,
this is a 14.
2014 TE 250. Be on the lookout for one that's in buckets soon.
She's real nice. So, but I've been so happy. Every time we're riding up there, I just love the bike. Like, it has not disappointed in the least.
No, and unlike your old 250, which always fouled plugs.
Yeah,
every time
constantly.
we rode it would foul a plug, whereas this thing, it's like you're hopping on it and you're just...
And I have not
like
changed
a
a
weed
thing to
whacker.
the jetting. Nothing like that. The only thing that I would maybe do in the future would be the 300 mule kit from Slavens. Because it's like... I feel like that power would just be a little more... I don't want to say 4-stroke-ish, which is a little weird, yeah.
Which is funny because that's one of the things I crack up when you hear every 300 guy or every 250 guy is trying to make their bike run like a 4-stroke.
Yeah,
and it's like they come up with all these excuses, and it's like, I mean, I get it. There's the 2-stroke has that fun factor. Yeah. It really does, but when you want to go fast and you want to win races, you go with a 350 4-stroke.
Blah, blah. I always go back to that argument, too.
Hashtag
like,
KTM.
Why are all the hard enduro guys riding this bike?
I know. It honestly confuses me. And I know the biggest thing that people say is as far as those stalling out, they don't stall out like a 4-stroke. But it's just mind-boggling because I've gone through and watched a bunch of videos with like Erzberg, Romaniacs, all that stuff. And what's interesting is you see on a lot of random hill climbs that people are struggling with, usually the ones that they show in these clips that make it up without an issue are those few guys that are on the 4-strokes. And it's like, all right, so they hook up and go.
Yeah.
And we saw that on the UP trip that we did when you had your 200. And there was a sand climb that I did with the 350 where I didn't even like think about it. And it was just like, bloop, right up. And we switched bikes. And the 200, I'm like revving the snot out of it. And it's just like, and I stop halfway. And I'm like, well, what just happened here? I went in with more speed, more momentum, all that. And it just fell short, you know? So I get that there's tons of rider preference on all that and, you know, the fun factor.
And I mean, honestly, I would love one of those bikes. They're
oh, yeah.
This is a 2-stroke guy sitting here calling the 354 stroke like a great bike. Like, it really is. But when I sit here and I can have this bike twice.
Oh, yeah.
For that, it's just hard to pass this up. So,
But
if the right 350 came and bit me in the nose, I would.
I think there's someone up
selling a heartbeat and pick
up near Milwaukee that might have one for sale.
Yeah.
Cam chain may or may not be rusty. We don't know.
Oh, we know. Yeah. We've seen it enough times.
But one of the things that I think we want to kind of take a look at, or at least I want to, is, you know, one of the jokes about KTMs is whether or not they're ready to race. And this one's obviously the EXC model. Well, maybe not obviously, but if you look at the TKC 80 on there, you know, many people are going to joke about the fact that it's, you know, not exactly ready to race with these knobbies, or, well, the dual sport 50/50 tires, which are put on there for sound emission stuff. So one of the things we're wanting to do here in the next upcoming weeks here before the holidays is sneak down to Megatrack's indoor motocross track, which is down in, I think it's Mendota or Ottawa, something like that. The owners of Fox Valley Off-Road own the place. They have a great facility down there, and it's an indoor motocross track. They put on a trials event every year. And so what I want to do is take this bike here, and whether or not Caleb or Jameson can get down there with us, see what we can work down there, but do a quick test to see just how race ready, these TKC 80s are. Like I said, we'll post up some video here in this, some shots of us from last weekend, Caleb and I ripping around on a little oval course. And I was shocked by these. I was ready to go toss on. I've got some Pirelli MT16s to toss on here. But these, I haven't ridden TKC 80s since 2009. And so they kind of really shocked me as how well they hooked up, especially in the sloppy stuff we were riding. And so we're going to do some lap tests of this versus, at least Caleb's 450 or Jameson's, 250 here, see what kind of stuff we end up with. And if we have time, I'll swap on the other tires while we're there just to get a little baseline of how much of a variance that will give you. But, it'll be fun to do, something to show of, ripping these things around and, kind of take it from there. So we look forward to you guys joining us next time. And until next time, this is SpackleBucket Moto. Peace.